Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Today we have a special guest, Opanike, listening to us. Hi.
Hi.
So all the way from Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. I love it. Opanike Shelton, how did we get here? Well, you sent in a question. I did an episode on your question, but I also wanted to speak with you and learn more about you and answer some questions you may still have. I know you've been personal training. You do a couple of things with your fitness. So fill us in, what is it that you do? How did you come about being a personal trainer yourself?
Absolutely. So, first, I want to start off to say thank you just for making this opportunity available. And you are such a wealth of knowledge, and you share it so easily and so freely. So I am so thankful for you. Um, I have always been a mover. I enjoy moving. Traditionally, I have danced different styles of dance, and so moving and being physically active has never been a challenge for me personally. But what wasn't happening is that the person that I looked like and felt like on the outside didn't match the insides. And so throughout my journey of fitness, knowing that I've always been a mover and have joined gyms in the past, I never got the balance of the eating and the nutrition and the working out. So it just seems like I was just spinning my wheels a lot of the time over the years. And so fast forward many, many years and through, we'll probably get into a little bit about my history. Finally finding the right balance allowed me to match the outside with the inside, not just aesthetically, but from a sense where I felt whole and I felt that I could step out and be seen, which is why I named my company Fitness in Plain Sight. And so, of recent years, the past 3 years, I've been successful with being able to balance that personally. And I said, hey, it's time to be able to share this with other women because we can be healthier. And I am happy to be able to not only be an example and give my own testimony, but provide opportunities for women to not hide and to really be committed to living a healthier life inside the body that they have.
I love it. So when did were you already looking into becoming a certified trainer at that point?
Oh,
Or how did you transition from that thought into being a personal trainer? Um,
mhm. Good question. Yeah, so that's the part that I left out. So once I kind of got myself together, the natural organic progression was to become a personal trainer. But I was always afraid. I'm like, are people really going to listen to me? Can I do this? Do I want to do this? I know I want to do it. And so after prayer and meditation, I said to myself, I am going to apply for an online program and I am going to do this. If everyone else can do it, I can do it too. And so I flirted with and courted with looking at the website and comparing which ones and what's better and how supportive are they going to be and is it going to be too hard and what does the test look like and how much does it cost? All the things that we
of
go through.
course.
And so then I made a decision, and actually, I only got my certification just November of last year. So so I am fresh. I'm a fresh trainer with a lot of experience. Yeah, personal
Now,
experience.
were you coming from a place where there's any congruency or overlap at all, or is this like completely just different than what you've done in the past?
As far as just like a career
Yeah, as a
or
career, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I do have a big girl job, and so that is in the mental health field. I actually have my own company, so that is what I do for, to bring in the bucks. And so personal training is considered my side hustle. But I
Okay.
will tell you, I am so in love with what I'm doing. If the side hustle begins to kind of trump and over, uh, uh, blossom, where my day job becomes like, oh, secondary. I'm open for that. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. So you
That's
do
a
have
good
like a
question.
passion and something that you want to move into. I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
I'm having fun.
So where do you feel you are right now? So just to make sure that everybody got it, I want everyone to know Fitness in Plain Sight.
Yes.
And you guys can check her out in Fitness in Plain Sight. That is your fitness company. Um, how do you feel things have gone so far? What was your first move? When you started, where did you start? Did you start with business cards, with a website, um, personal connections? Did you try to get some of your mental health, maybe clientele, or, I'm not sure if you work one-on-one with people. So tell me a little bit about the beginnings. What inspired you to go out on your own, become a personal trainer, start your own personal training business, and what were your first moves?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I still consider myself new to all of this. When I'm decided, I move quickly and I go. I make up my mind and I go. So my first step after getting the certification, because I was thinking nobody's going to take me seriously. I felt that, unless I had the piece of paper, and Sam talks about that in the podcast, having to have something to make you official. I felt that people weren't going to take me seriously. And I knew if I wanted to make it a business, something that I could draw an income from, I need to have everything in place. And so one of the first things I did, what was accessible to me, I know how to go on a template and make a website. I know that I need pictures. I know that I need copy for my website. I know that I'm going to need an email address. So because I have my own mental health company, I was not unfamiliar with the process of, okay, you have to have a system in place. You have to do this, you have to do that. So, but what the approach that I took with the personal training side was, okay, if someone wants to come and train with you, what officially are you going to have in place outside of the skill, outside of the certification? And so I just kind of started there. I haven't made a flyer. I've made some digital flyers on Canva. I have my own social media account. I use that. So I just kind of use what was accessible, like low hanging fruit, in order to get started. I'm a bootstrapper and common sense kind of girl. I'm like, okay, you just have to work with what you have until
I
you
love
can
it.
get that you need. So I'm going to stop there. Does that begin to answer your question?
Oh,
And feel
absolutely.
free.
Yeah, yeah. Just kind of where you were. Yeah, yeah. And your mindset going into it. Now,
Mhm.
you're pretty new. So are you working with anybody so far? Have you gotten any people contacting you so far? Like, what does it look like now?
Okay, so little big brother Sam, right? This is where I need all of the help. Okay. To answer your question, I do have one personal training client under Fitness in Plain Sight. But you also need to know this because I am a dancer, it was suggested to me, so get a dance class going, right? That'll give you an edge. And then you can pull some people from dance class, say, hey, I do this, I offer this as well. So I teach dance once a week. That just started in February. They're asking for more. And I'm like, oh, goodness, no, I don't want to do dance. I want to do training. I also have through the Metro Parks, which is where I teach dance. I said, okay, they have a weight room. How can I get a contract to be able to utilize the weight? I'm a thinker, Sam. I'm a smart girl. And so I ended up signing a contract with Metro Parks where I could utilize their gym. I pay a commission and haven't had anyone to come to get my services from there yet, but it's going to happen. And get this, I also am an hourly employee at a nationally recognized nonprofit workout facility. They have
Okay.
several of these in every city, right? So
Okay.
I am an hourly employee and I allot 1 day a week in order to work with them. So the branches,
Hmm.
Fitness in
Hmm.
Plain Sight, teaching dance, contract with Metro Parks, and hourly employee because I'm so determined to make this work. So let me stop there. What was your original question? Because I'm going to tie in where my stuff
Yeah,
links.
I would. Yeah, I was just asking like where you are. in your fitness career, and then also like what are you looking to do or add or, kind of figure out in your business?
Yes. Okay. So where I am currently in my fitness career, I have one person that I train, and I just started with her about 12 weeks ago. And so my intention is to be able to grow and see more folks under Fitness in Plain Sight. Where I would like to go is
Mhm.
that since this is a side hustle for me, it's not going to be the main thing. I want to see myself at least making anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 a month. And
Oh, that's
so
great.
that is a monetary goal for me, in addition to what I'm doing on the other side.
Yeah.
And does that better answer your question? Is
Yeah.
that
And do you imagine yourself not doing the dance then anymore once you get to your target of the 2 to 4?
so? I would like to keep the dance because it's a dance class, and
Hmm.
it's only like at 60 minutes, and I feel like that's another way that I can get in front of folks
Hmm.
and be able to maybe pull from class, and they just kind of
Yeah.
go upstairs, and now I'm training them. So I don't want to let that go. I see it more as something that's complementary.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't want to let that go, but I really
Okay.
want to focus. I'm clear. My focus is on building Fitness in Plain Sight and having personal training clients by them buying packages.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. I was only asking because eventually once you have, 3 clients, 5 clients, 10 clients, however many clients you have, eventually something's going to have to give. So I was just thinking like, what do you see maybe allowing for your time to be opened up, in the future? So
Yeah,
that's all I was thinking. So you have one client. Tell me about how you got your one client.
yeah.
Let's.
Yeah. And I want to go back to something. That's the kind of challenging I need. Some because I'm a visionary and an implement executor. So I need to be reined in. So for you to ask me that question, okay, Opanike, so like it's nice and cute now. It's dealable now, but what about what about
Yeah, because I'm really imagining you accomplishing it, right? So
Mhm.
you get to 5 clients, then you get to 10, then you get to 15, then you get to 20, right? It sounds outlandish, but I think in one area where a lot of us struggle is where do we give something up in order to attain new things, right? So I'll give you an example that I had to go through in my gym just to kind of paint the picture for you and other people. For a while, I had my gym, I had some employees, but I was also doing some of the sessions. But the problem was that I wanted to hire somebody else to replace me. And I struggled for a very long time because I wanted everything to line up perfectly. I wanted to get the trainer, train them, introduce them to the clients, have all the clients slowly, and it was never working out. So one day I just decided, said, I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to hire a new trainer. They're going to start with 1 or 2 clients. I'm going to lose a lot of money. And I did for months. I lost a lot of money, but I needed the trainer to be there in order to build on top of the trainer. And I was never going to be able to grow if I didn't lose first. And I think
Mhm.
just in general, I think most of us in general, we don't realize that like we have to let go of what we're holding in order to like have our hands free to hold the next thing, right? I always say that like if you have 1 client here, 1 client here, and
Yeah.
your third client is going to be even better, we want to grab that client without
Yeah.
opening up our hand and letting go. So I was just thinking into the future. Obviously, right now you need to do everything you can. I 100% guarantee like you need all the avenues, you need all the ways because yeah, right now you have 1 client, you're trying to get to 2, you're trying to get to 3, but eventually I was only thinking into the future. Eventually, once you hit your goal,
Mhm.
and you'll know at that time because you'll know what's bringing in clients and what's not, like maybe your dance is going to bring clients in, so you want to keep that. But let's say you've been teaching dance with the plan of bringing in clients from there, but you were a year later and you still haven't gotten anybody from there.
Yeah.
But you've gotten 3 people from your other job. Then at that point, you might as well use that day that you dance to go and implement it into what's actually working. So like paying
Ah,
attention to where clients are coming from is super important. And I think sometimes we want it to be just this one way. And, you just have to be flexible. I guess the challenge with people like you and I that are very driven and are very hungry and are very hardworking is
Mhm.
that sometimes we also don't know when to like pump the brakes on certain ideas or certain things. You know, it's like I can do it all. And it's like you can, but learning to fine tune where you put your energy into is also a big part of it. But right now it doesn't matter. I was just thinking into the future.
Yeah. No, this is exactly the type of guidance and mentorship that I need. Of course, I don't know all the things. I'm a baby. I'm fresh at this, right? I'm a pro in my other life, but here I'm a baby. And so someone to challenge me and say, "Well, okay, so how is this sustainable? Okay,
Mhm.
so what are you going to have to change out?" So this gives me something more to think about, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that because you're right. I think I'll probably end up having a cap at some point. So maybe my side hustle looks like 5 to 7 clients, max
Mhm.
10.
Yeah,
You
that's what I
know,
was going to ask Ness too. Like, have you done your numbers and kind of figured out about how many clients you would want to have?
I've played around with some numbers. What's really important to me is my mental, physical, and emotional health because I will not exert myself, right? Because I have no one to catch me, so I have to make sure that I don't overextend myself. And again, this is a side hustle. I have a whole other,
Hmm.
grown business that I've been managing. It'll be six. It's been 5 years,
Oh, that's
and
great.
so yeah, so making sure that I don't exert myself. So in my mind, I'm saying cap 10. But with the packages, people will kind of dip in and dip out. They may do an 8, they may do a 12, they may do it'd be perfect if they could do a 48, session that I have them for a whole cycle. So I'm kind of letting time. I hope that's okay. Okay, answer time tip. Let me know
Oh,
what will be
absolutely.
useful. Because I'm building, what did they say? Building the plane and flying it at the same
At the
time.
same time. Yeah, no, I think I'm a big believer in the short-term goals too. Like because sometimes, and it's good to just go step by step too, because sometimes people, we have all these big goals. Like you can say, oh, I'm going to have 20 clients, I'm going to have this, but really the reality is right now you just need to go from one to two, and like we don't need to lose focus in that. So I was just asking to get an idea, but I actually would say the only main focus right now is to get from the one person you have to just two people. And if you can
Yeah,
figure out how to get to two, you probably figured out how to get to three, and
yeah,
then you have the formula down.
yeah, yeah. In fact, that was one of your podcasts a few weeks back, or maybe a couple of months back. You emphasize how can you get one client? How can you get your first client? I'm like, little big brother is challenging me. Get one client. And I did that. And so how do I replicate that? Actually, your original question was, how am I getting clients?
Yeah,
So
how
this
did
was
you get
somebody,
your one client? Yeah.
yeah, this is someone that I have known, went to undergraduate school with, and she'd seen my transformation pictures and said, "Hey, um, can you work with me?" I said, "Sure." So I charge her like pennies on the dollar, right, to
Usually
work
how
with
we
her because
start.
I'm humble. Yes, I'm humble. I don't want to break her, in my mind, I don't want to break her, and she's a few years younger than me. And so it's mutually beneficial. And I said, in exchange for this really great rate, can I just capture your journey along the way? So I have footage,
I love
of
that.
her testimonies and all that. I'm a thinker, Sam. I'm a thinker. And so yeah, so she has bought like a second round of packages for me. How do I get my second client? I am using word of mouth. I have not pulled the trigger on, hey, Instagram, this is the package I'm offering. I haven't pulled the
Mm.
trigger on that. I'm a little afraid. You'll learn why later. I have pulled the trigger on putting it on my website because I'm still trying to figure out pricing. And then I'm going through that. Am I worth this or not? You talked about that on your podcast as well, not trying to kid yourself. So my hope is to gain another client. I've had a couple to reach out, but they aren't serious once you kind of consult with them because, so yes, so that's how I've been kind of slow walking, getting another client, and then making announcements at the end of my dance class, right? And
Oh,
letting
that's
people that I
great.
know. Yeah, so I'm using the low hanging fruit because
Yeah.
I'm a one woman show, so it's hard to do all the things and everything at the same time.
No, that's great. I love that you have a call to action. So you got somebody, you're getting the pictures, but you're saying you're not really posting even like some of the stuff you're doing with her. Like you haven't really been putting content or pricing or anything out there, right?
I have it. Ouch. This is getting ready to hurt. Give it to me, Sam. Tell me
No,
what I
it's
need to.
fine. It's fine. I just think so have you thought about like your I guess your distance, like what is your region for training? Do you have where you live, is there like a town or a zip code or you know what I mean? Because we all know the big names, right? Like Nashville, and you got, um, at Los Angeles out here, right? But even within there, there's smaller towns and counties and things like that. So, do you have something like that where like everyone knows this little town that you're at or anything like that?
Right, right. So since Nashville is the capital, it's the place where everybody, wants to be. And because I'm new at this and I'm still learning, I haven't kind of put out that, hey, I'm out here and available because I'm afraid to be overwhelmed.
Hmm.
So I think maybe your question is, so what am I considering? How far of the distance
Yes,
of how I can gain clients to actually get them to come to hear me, to understand that my services are available, and to see me? That's something I'm still working on because in my mind, I'm kind of doing the low hanging fruit, friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. But I do have some homework from a mentorship program, fitness mentorship program I'm doing that says, okay, you got to get your Google ranking up. You got to do this. You got to do.
that's why I was asking.
Oh, okay. So I haven't. It's on the to-do list. I haven't quite figured it out, and that's another thing. It's like there's so much to be done. There's so much to do, and I'm like, I am not going to lose my mind. I can't do it all. I can't force myself to do it all right now. I have to do
Hmm.
it in little chunks. So that's another area,
Yeah.
marketing.
No, and it
Hmm.
goes back to my earlier question about what will happen in the future as you grow. Like you'll have to let some things go because you can't do it all. So even now, you're already going to realize that we can't do it all. And it's definitely a difficult thing to start something on the side. I think once it's easy to say and it's so hard to do,
What's that?
to at the end of a work day, right? So you get up, you have things you already have to do as part of your business or your job, if you have two jobs. And then on top of that, to have the energy to come home and then give your business an hour or two. That's why business, it requires that extra umph. So either you have to, at the end of the day, no matter how tired you are, work on it,
Hmm.
or you have to let something go to free up the energy. It's not even about the time, but just about the mental capacity that we have to get everything done,
Yeah.
So because yeah, it's hard enough to survive. I mean, the survival rate for almost any business is very low in the long run, right? They don't survive past a year or 2 years.
Hmm.
And I think the reason for that is because we struggle to get something done every day. So what happens is we let a year go by, but really the amount of work that somebody did in a year, somebody else probably could do that in a month. We just took too long. You just took too long to get the work done because I don't like to think of things in like time. I like to think of things in like, did you do the things that you were supposed to do? So for example, and actually it's even worse if we take too long. So I always relate everything to fitness.
Hmm.
If I told you that I worked out 100 times this year,
Hmm.
that may have different meanings depending on consistency.
Yep.
So 100 times skipping every other day is not going to look the same if I told you I worked out 100 days in a row. And so
Yes.
with business, a lot of business starts to fade, starts to fail over time because we're doing the same thing. We work on our business 100 days out of the year, but we're skipping 2 days every time. And so by the end of the year, you don't have the results that you could have gotten if you worked out 100 times in a row, right? So
Yeah.
it's about like building a daily discipline. I have this thing, I think I talked about it on the podcast. I learned it from a client from our gym,
Mhm.
but no 0 days. So what I do is I have it in my notes to at least work on something 30 minutes every day, no matter how I feel, no matter what, because what I need is every day to be a workout. So you want to treat your business like fitness. Look at your business and ask yourself, if this was my client that works out with me, what kind of results would they be getting with the consistency that I'm giving it? And they're probably not going to lose much weight or get much muscle if we're going too slow. It just depends, right? But yeah, you look like you had something on your mind.
I'm jotting.
Okay.
I'm jotting. I'm a note taker.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So just one way to think about it, but trying to get back to the point. I understand it's like the more things you have, the harder it is to build your business. But I was asking about your town just to give you, I guess, some feedback and the listeners too. You already know how I get into my groove
Yes.
and I just
Yes.
start rattling off some ideas. Um, it's important for everybody to think about their website as a very important part of their business, I would say. I mean, you have a business, so you know that part. Um, because it's going to work for you in the long run. So
Mhm.
right now you're doing, like you said, low hanging fruit, friends of friends, people in the class. But you want to think, how do I speak to someone when I have to leave, right? So let's say you make an announcement to your class. How do they learn more about you? Because maybe they're not going to go up to you in front of everybody to ask you, but they may still be interested. So now what are they going to look at? How do they hear your voice? How do they hear your message? How do they know who you are when maybe they're too shy to ask? Maybe they have to go pick up their kids after the class. So
Mhm.
they're interested, but they might not have time. So that's where either a social media or a website comes into play.
Mhm.
And you can use, and I actually just talked to somebody on the last podcast about this because I just did one with a listener, and I forgot to tell him this. Like, the you want to use your word of mouth to begin to build your website. What does that mean? That means that if let's say you don't get any clients this month, but you can get 20 people to go to your website, what'll start to happen is Google is going to start to recognize that your website is important. So you can use your energy and your muscles and your word of mouth, your sweat equity, right? We call it, like, just like, I love that you say you're a bootstrapper, because that's how I've built everything. And
I
honestly,
can
I think
tell.
that's why the podcast, I think, vibes with people, because this is where most of us are. You know what I mean? We're not some investor that's going to open up a gym with $100,000. Like, okay, let me just drop that and open up this gym in this town. The reality is, I just need to get a client or two. I need to figure out how to sell them. I need to figure out how to build my website. So I love bootstrapping, and that's one piece of advice that I would give anyone, is really take your website seriously early on, even though nothing's going to happen right now. But the way that it works is Google, the algorithm, the more people you can get to your website with your sweat equity, the more it will start to rank in the long run. And so what will happen is 2 years from now, when somebody types in, you know, personal trainer for women or personal trainer in my town, that's why I was asking you about town, because they're not going to look for a trainer in Nashville. It's too big, you know?
Oh.
So like out here, it's a similar thing, right? It's Los Angeles out here. So nobody's going to go personal trainer in Los Angeles, because that can mean by the ocean, that can mean by the mountains, that can mean down south, south central, it can mean up north in the hill. I mean, what is Los Angeles? It's too big. So my
Yeah.
gym is in Culver City. So everyone that lives in Culver City knows Culver City. It's still within Los Angeles County.
Yeah.
So when you build your website and you put your search engine optimization on there, you want to think, my clients are going to look for a personal trainer that's in their town, that's in their zip code, that's in their neighborhood. And you want to build that in early. Shout out to Megan, because that's what I wanted to talk to her about, so she'll know when she hears this.
Mm.
This is what I wanted to tell her. When you will build your website and you put the SEO in there, nothing's going to
Mm.
happen now, but treat your website like it's you talking to your potential client. So when you re-look at it, when somebody looks at it, do they really know me? Some people that went to my website, they'll know I have a video, and this I learned from a YouTuber, but I like to have a video introduction on all my websites. So anytime I start a project or anything like that, I record myself talking and I tell them what I'm about, who I want to help, why I started doing this, and how they can contact me. So then they can like hear and see this instead of
Yeah.
just a picture, which kind of says a lot, but there's so much more. Like even as I'm talking to you, I saw
Mhm.
fitness in plain sight, but like I don't get all of you. Now I'm getting more of you. So I
Okay.
think if you had a video intro, somebody might hear you, see you, and be like, that's my girl right there.
Yeah.
That's who I
Yeah.
want to
And
work
I
with.
watched your videos right before our call. I was like, oh, there's Sam and his staff. Yeah. And it was nice.
Yeah, yeah. So it's functional more than anything. I always say that. I'm like, our website is functional. It does what it's supposed to do, which is it gets us clients. Right. At the end of the day, you can never lose focus. And I think a lot of us lose focus in that area where we care more about how we look in it than does it work. Now, both things are important, but it needs to work more than anything. Now, once you get it to work, then you can keep
Mhm.
going back and beautify it, right? Once it works, you can beautify it more and more and more. You can hire somebody to take other pictures. You can hire a videographer. You can get a video editor. All those things are good once it
Yeah.
starts to work. Talk about bootstrapping. I always
hmm
do like the part that works. Once my website gets me a client or two, I go, okay, it's working. Now let's just make it better.
Okay. Okay. I love the idea around, essentially treat your website like your megaphone. It is how to draw people in, how to get their attention, and it does more than just word of mouth can do, because someone can look at a website at 3 a.m. in the morning, right?
Exactly. It's working for you all
Mhm.
the time.
And I do have a IG account for fitness in plain sight as well. So, but I've been kind of skittish. Again, I'm new. I may seem like I'm much further ahead because I'm a businesswoman and I'm a thinker, but we're just talking like within the last 90 days. So, I have not pulled the trigger on the pricing and packaging. I was kind of waiting to talk with you to get my
Oh,
get my guts together to be able to do it. I did peek at your pricing, so that was helpful, and done the research on my own about what is typical for your city. But I do like the idea and the suggestion around really craft your website and use that as a way of reaching and grabbing and getting more folks. Yeah,
yeah.
Nashville is a little town, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to say my neighborhood, because my
Mm,
neighborhood stands
is
for like, yeah, so
yeah.
Nashville makes sense as opposed to the next city, which is like 10 minutes down the road, and
Yeah,
it's a
no,
small,
exactly.
so
Yeah, yeah. No, it
yeah,
has
so
to
it's a
be where
little
you're
big
at.
town. It's a
Yeah,
little
it
big
has to
town.
be. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, I haven't been, so I was like, I don't know how, I'm just so used to like something like LA that's just so big and there's
mhm,
just almost like little cities within the city is how you have to think
mhm,
about it. Also the traffic, people aren't going that far.
mhm.
And also as a trainer, you have to think about how far am I willing to go or how far is my client willing to come to me if you're going to do it like that. Now, is your plan to have most of the people at the center that you were talking about, or you're willing to do some in-home, some in the center, like kind of wherever it comes up, you're flexible?
Okay, Sam, now we're cooking with gas because this is where I need you.
Okay.
I am wanting to make sure that I am spending time where I'm going to get produce the most fruit. So I think of it like this: if someone called me tomorrow and said, I need you to train me, would you be ready? Okay. Where I get stuck is where I'm going to train them, because at the community center, right, they have limitations and they have charge a commission. So I have to bump the price up in order to get some money, enough compensation to feel that it's useful. But I'm willing to do that from our first few clients. At the national chain, I'm an hourly employee and they have their own set pricing. So I get none of that money.
Mm,
And they may or may not have to be a member there. It is membership based. So that feels like a struggle there. And then I'm left with, okay, so use the parks, right? That's a bootstrapping idea. Use the parks
yeah.
to work out. The weather's pretty good now before it gets like, a million degrees outside. And so this is where I get stuck. Where I'm going to train people, because nowhere right now in my newbie mind makes enough sense for me to be able to reap enough money to make it useful. Did any of that make sense? 'Cause this is
Oh,
my stuck list.
absolutely. No, no. I think, man, I love that you're being honest about it because I
Mhm.
think that's where I love talking to you guys and getting your questions because it paints such a good picture for me of like what's actually going on. Because sometimes I make assumptions, right? And sometimes I talk fast and I'm like, oh, the website, you put a video, it's like I don't know where I'm training. It's like, okay, okay, that's where we're at. So I appreciate it. And honesty is I think the only way that we grow. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if we avoid like, oh, I don't want to talk about where I train, then we can build a great website, we can have the perfect pricing, and it's like, I don't know what's going on. And it's like, well, we still haven't figured this out because we just keep kind of putting it away. So I think that's a good question. I think that's something that you're definitely going to have to figure out. I don't have an answer for you as far as what I think would be best. I think all of them have their own benefits.
Mm.
Um, if you go based on cost, then yeah, you probably want to not even continue doing the gym thing if you don't want to worry about that. Maybe you can come back to it once you get some clients. Maybe
Mm.
you can get some clients at the park so that you know what you're doing, and then you transfer them over to the gym once you're making some money. So that would be
Mhm.
another avenue, right? So you just have to kind of pull back a little bit.
Mhm.
But I think there's nothing wrong with being an in-home trainer if you want to do that. Everything has its pros and cons. So this is going to be based on you, right? Like driving
Yes.
to someone, the pros are you don't need a gym,
Mhm.
but you need to drive to them and carry the equipment. Unless they have some, maybe you can get them to buy some. So
Mhm.
that is great because there's no cost. It's just going. So you save all that money, but you are going to have to spend time in your car getting there and you're going to waste a little bit of time. I think in the beginning, though, it's not that bad because you're not that busy.
Mhm.
So you have 30 minutes or an hour to get to the next person. Not the
Mhm.
best, that's why I like having a location and in the future plan on having location. I just like people coming to us. It's just a time
Yeah.
saver for the coach.
Yeah.
But when you're starting, I would say consider going to their home, especially in the beginning. Once you have 3 to 5 people, then you can start thinking about where you're going because at least you have income. So you can start talking to your clients and saying, "Hey, I think it would be better as far as equipment and all the other amenities if we start training at the gym."
Mhm.
And feel them out. And if you really want to, maybe you can drop your price by like $5. I don't want to preach that, but I'm just saying as like maybe pulling them in away from their house into your gym. It may be worth the gas and the time to give them a little bit of a rate shift if they move in with you to your
Can I jump in?
location.
Can I jump in
Oh
just
yeah,
right there
yeah.
to say a little bit about that? So this national chain, right? That's a nonprofit. Again, that I am an hourly employee. They sell, you have to be a member to actually enter the door, and they have fitness packages.
Okay.
So again, if I am, if they can, my client, say from that I acquire
You
on my
wouldn't be able to charge,
there
right?
we
You
go.
you would have to
Oh
put
yeah.
them through their system.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
I get pennies on a dollar for an
Yeah,
hourly
yeah, yeah.
wage.
Of course, that's how it's gonna. Yeah, yeah. That's they get you a client. You have to kind of take that hit. So every business has its pros and cons. I always say like even if you work at LA Fitness, sometimes you don't get paid the most, but they're gonna get you a lot of clients. So
Mhm,
whereas
mhm.
on the other side, you can make all the money, but then we have one client, we have no clients. So it's again, it's all pros and cons. It depends where you're at, your flexibility, what you're expecting to do in the future. So then, okay, but you do work there. So yeah, anything that you have through there, you would have to train there. So right now you're not taking on any clients or anything there because you don't want to go down that path there.
Well, I say, hey, I'm available and I'm ready. And I just got hired there in December. So this is
Oh,
fresh.
this is
And
new. Hmm.
yeah, I'm like, I'm ready. Send me one or two. But real talk, Sam, I'm not going to spend a lot of time and energy there, making pennies on a dollar. although there's resources and I get the membership, free membership and all that stuff and equipment, but it just doesn't seem, unless you can direct me in another way to think about it more globally, just doesn't seem the best use of my time. That's why I make one day available on a Saturday. And so I think of it as my training ground and
Yeah, yeah,
resources.
yeah.
Is
That's
that
fine.
right?
That's fine. No, I think you should, if you're thinking that way, just keep it at one day. And as soon as you can replace that income and that time with the client yourself, you're probably better off just like,
Let them
you
go.
know, yeah, because as long as you make up the income more than anything, because anything that comes from that, it's not working for you, right? Like even if you were there Saturday morning, somebody said, I want to train with you. I don't know if you'd be excited or you'd be like, oh, darn, because like now I got to train somebody for this rate in this place. It just depends, be real with yourself. Imagine right now if I told you, hey, you got somebody on the weekend through them, would that be exciting or would that feel like, oh man, like that's not what I was hoping would happen? So you just have to be honest with yourself, like I got to a point where, and this is when I knew I had to step out of my training position at my own gym. I remember the manager, Sean, there, he's been with me for a while. I remember having a real talk with him and I was like, dude, somebody signed up yesterday and I wasn't excited. And I was
Mhm.
like, that's not good,
Mhm.
because I was training way too much at that point. So I'm just challenging you to kind of imagine it yourself. Like if things took off on that job, and you don't have to answer it now, you'll have some time to think about it, but would you be excited for that part of your career to grow? Or would you see it as a detriment to the thing that you're really trying to do over here? And that should clear up like, it almost sounds like you get in just from the outside, right? You can correct me, but it almost sounds like the dance that you're doing and the location that you're paying into because there's another facility, right? But
Yeah.
that's the
So
one. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
one through Metro Parks and one through that national chain I keep referring
Metro
to.
Parks, that's the one I'm trying to think of. Yeah. So it almost seems like the dance and the Metro Park would probably go towards what you're trying to do. Even though the Metro Parks, you probably have to pay for clients, but at least they're your own. And
Yeah. Yes.
so I would say like if we're thinking into the future, maybe you don't need it right now,
Mhm.
but you would probably be better off whatever time you're spending on the weekend working at that nonprofit gym. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm just
Mhm. Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah.
um how about you take that same Saturday and you use that to like sign yourself up? I'm just brainstorming because you guys, we haven't talked about this before. Anybody listening, it's like this is just off the cuff for both of us. They should know that. Um,
Mhm.
but maybe you can get yourself into a farmer's market where you have a booth, you have your flyers, you have a laptop with a video of your website, something where you're inviting people on the same, if you're going weekends, I'm imagining it's Saturday,
Yeah.
that same Saturday,
Yeah.
maybe you can find a local farmers market or something like that, or what do they call it? Like a
Mhm.
swap meet, just somewhere where people go that Saturday. And maybe,
Yeah.
we used to do that for our gym every Saturday and every Wednesday. We would have a local farmers market booth and we would have
Mhm.
either a little prize wheel where people could win one, two, or three sessions. Um, we would have
Oh.
games where people could throw like a ball and like have it stick on a wall. And depending on
Mhm.
where the ball landed, it had different prizes. So again, they would have one free session. They would have three sessions and a jump rope, right? Like it's a bit of an investment, but just thinking in the future, maybe not now, but it's like maybe you can replace that time that you're giving that company to your own
Mhm.
company, if you
Yeah.
have the means and the availability to do something like that. Obviously, I don't know, maybe right now we can't transfer just yet, but just thinking
Yeah.
into the future.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. And because right now it feels like more of a benefit that it does a cost because,
Yes.
saving my membership fee to go there because I worked out there for years, umpteen years, not at this location that train people. So I think that I will just maybe cap. I am available from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday. And if I don't get clients in between that, then okay, well, that's okay because I'm working on up this other
Yes.
area. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
be able to differentiate between where's going to be the best use of my time because I'm a one woman team.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all you that you're, but that also gives you the flexibility to move things around whenever you also need and see fit for yourself as well. But yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, we kind of went down this road. Is there anything on your mind or any questions that maybe you had prepared?
Yeah, yeah. So, and we've been kind of answering them. You see me glancing at my notes. So, I guess essentially, my initial question was, how do I resolve the where do I train
Oh, that's right.
people
That's right.
kind of conundrum? And so, um, is it unprofessional just to kind of have the heavy reliance on the parks right now, the actual like a park, and maybe kind of think about using the metro parks, the actual facility as B. So boot camps in the park A, metro parks paying the commission B. Would that be a good way to kind of structure and think
Absolutely.
about? Okay. Because
Yeah.
I'm feeling like I'm just kind of like I have this great thing, but where is it? I don't have a brick and mortar. So do I
Yeah.
sound like I started something and I don't know what I'm doing?
I love it though. I love the transparency and the because actually, okay, so now you're gonna get me talking about something that I really have thought about before, which is I don't think I've done an episode about this, but I've had it on my mind a lot. And I always suggest if you don't have a location, pick a park to make your location. So instead of thinking about it as parks, right? Because then you're gonna have the same issue as going to houses, right? If you can train at any park, then you might as well train at any house. So you're moving a lot, which there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. But let's say you find a park that works for you. And I would even strategize maybe that's close to that metro parks,
Area.
location
Mhm.
so that it's not that difficult. So treat that park as your location, make a commitment to the park. Now, if something changes, if there's an issue, with permits or you can't get a permit or somebody wants to use the park for an activity and you have to, we'll deal with it when we get there. Don't go into it thinking that. But I would say pick a park, maybe one that is recognizable and now do the same thing that you would for a brick and mortar place. Take pictures at that park. Take pictures of the sign. Put the address of the park as your business address. And now you're using the park as your business location. In the Google search and everything too, it might even help because people are going to be like, oh, I know that park. I know the address. I can go to Google, go to the website, hit directions, and the directions take me to the park. So it's all working in congruency. It just so happens that your location doesn't have the walls. That's all that's how I like to think about it
Okay.
because you really do want to make a commitment to a location that's going to help you long term, unless you completely flip your business strategy and you say, hey, I'm somebody that goes everywhere,
Mm,
right? But
mm,
yeah.
mm.
So if you want to just keep it at a park, you'll benefit a lot more. You can save time because you can have a 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. all at the park. You go bang, bang, bang. You can get back to whatever you're doing, you know? So there we go. We got something.
Bam. Little Big Brother. Yes. This is helpful. So helpful because I just vacillated between what should I do? Does this look unprofessional? Are people going to take me seriously? Because image matters, right?
Of course.
This is helpful. And I'm just starting out, so I shouldn't put so much pressure on myself to try to have
Of
everything
course.
placed so in place and just, she's been doing
Booch.
this for 20 years,
Yeah,
three
I mean
months.
it's hard. You want to be as professional as you can, and obviously if it was up to the image in our mind right now, even myself, I always tell people when they get kind of down on like, well, my business is this. I'm like, dude, if you ask me, I would love to have a 3,000 square foot facility where I have an office for the podcast. I have an office for every trainer. I have beds for people to like nap in. I have a kid. Of course, that's the dream. That's the goal, but we're all working from where we're at. And some of us start in homes, some of us start at the park, and big things start in small places. This is the issue that sometimes trainers have, which it doesn't sound like you have, but since we're talking to everybody listening as well, I want everybody to know this. Sometimes the reason you don't get the big part is because you're not willing to go through the small part, right? Like right now, people see me as like, oh, he has a podcast, he's helpful, and he has a gym, and he has employees, and he can get clients, and he built his. Okay, Listen to what I'm saying. I used to go to a farmer's market and pass out flyers. I used to go to the park and hand out business cards. I was not above anything, you know? And that's just where we were at. You know, when we started the gym, we didn't have a logo. So it's easy when you look at somebody who already figured something out to think like, oh, I'm not really a trainer if I'm not at a location. I'm not really a trainer if I'm going to homes, if I'm at the park. If you are willing to let go of that part, start at the park,
Yeah.
you're going to go from one client to 3 to 5.
Yep.
In a year, those 5 are going to be in your other location, the one that you're using. So it's going to look
Mhm.
different, but you can't start there because then you wouldn't have gotten the 5. You
Yeah.
know, you need to establish the 5 at the park to then take them to a local gym. Now that you
Okay.
have those 5 and you're rocking, now you may be able to work yourself up to 7 or 9 or
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yes.
who knows what happens after that? Maybe now you look at another facility to rent out that you like better, that's closer. Maybe
Yeah.
now you've learned how to market yourself, how to sell, how to train, how to like teach. Maybe now you start thinking, you know what? I got myself 10 clients. Maybe I can hire someone. Maybe I can open up a location. Maybe I can start a franchise. Maybe I can start a boot camp, you know, start a new brand. But you can't get to those big ideas if you don't plant yourself down at that park first. And
Yeah.
that's sometimes the struggle that we have. We want the big things without living
Yeah.
and like you said, there's nothing wrong. Out here in LA, I know plenty of trainers that do well and they've been training at parks for 10 years. You know, that
With
is
no brick and mortar.
what's that?
With no brick and mortar. They just use the park. That's their okay
For 10
base.
years. For 10 years I've known them and that's what they do and they do well.
Mm.
You know, granted
Mhm.
the weather out here lends itself to do that almost year round, but there's nothing wrong with that, you know? And like I said, deal with whatever comes later. You know what I mean? Like if you have to move them into the other gym for 3 months out of the year, 4 months out of the year, then you do that. You
Yeah.
move them in, you pay a little fee for a few months just to keep them, and then you can go back to the park, you know.
Yeah. The next.
But
Ah.
what I was gonna say, and another benefit, this is why I wanted to do a whole episode on starting at the park. The park, just like everything, it has its pros and cons, right? Cons is like maybe it doesn't look the way you want it to look, and also the weather. But a great benefit of the park, one of the most underutilized park benefits is that you can train and have a table with your banner on it with flyers on top of it as you train and now you're marketing to everyone walking by and it's such a powerful marketing tool. It's going to make your life easier instead of being in this building that's 10 miles away hoping that somebody magically finds you in this building. Come on, everybody's at the park. They're taking the kids to the park. They're going for a jog at the park. They're going for a walk at the park. They're going to the swings. They're going to the pool. People go to the park.
Yeah.
So you're
Mhm.
going to be able to put your table out there. See, it's all about strategy, right? You set up your fitness equipment. You have your one client.
Mhm.
Now you use this client to show everybody what your training session is all about. You have your flyers because you're prepared. This is
Mm.
where the website comes in handy. You're going to hand them something for them to look further into your training because right now they're not going to be able to ask you all the questions that they have because you're training.
Yeah.
But if they take one of those coupons or those flyers and you have a little QR code for them to scan, or you have it on the table with a banner and it has a QR code, want to train with me, check me out, scan the QR code. While you're training, people might come by and just scan it every once in a while. And now they're going to hear your voice, they're going to hear your message because now we set up that video in the website. Now we have the rates on the website. So that's why the website is such an important part. It all ties back to it. Unless you want them to tie back to the social media, you know, depending on the person's age and, you know, maybe some younger people they love doing the social media stuff. I all avenues are important. You know, social media is important, website's important, but I think at the end of the day, the website's important because long term, you want to be able to be found on Google when somebody just is sitting at home, like you said, 3 in the morning, and
Mhm.
they're like, man, I really need to change my life. And they type in
Mhm.
personal trainer near, and then that's why I was asking you your zip code and your town. If you have all that set up, you're going to be the number one local trainer there eventually because you got all these people to go to your website and so it ranks higher.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it all ties together.
I think what I take away from this is the feeling, at least relieved at this point that the park is a good option for me. And I also take away, it has so many benefits. I also take away that the website that's your little nugget of gold, right? You have to be able to feed that. You have to be able to milk it and use it for all that it's worth. It's not just a place to have pretty pictures. It is driving traffic and attention to you, to what you do, so that you can convert that to a sale. Because I'm still trying to digest the pipeline and getting that's step 4.
Yeah.
But at least I can start with what I have, low hanging fruit, until I can get further up on the tree.
Yeah, I would say like just to kind of start getting to the end here. I know we're getting to the end, but like on the website for you and for anyone listening, just if you want to really make it basic and converting, it doesn't have to be multiple pages. It can be one. Okay. Especially when you don't have a bunch of stuff going on, right? Like once, like for me, right? I have employees and I have different rates and weekend activities. Programs, yeah. So I'm saying that to say that like that's the only reason I need different categories. But most one person business, you don't need all those categories. You'll add them as you need them. So when somebody goes to the website, number one, they want to know who you are, what you're about, and doing a video makes it so much easier than typing it out. Another thing is once you record yourself, let's say you take some notes, you record yourself. What am I about? What's my message? Who do I help? How do I help them? You're going to end up recording yourself for maybe 3 minutes to 5 minutes giving your message.
Mm-hmm.
From that message, now you're going to extract maybe the 3 best points that you made and put them into copy below the video. So now you're going to you're going to hear yourself because when you talk, it comes from the soul, right? So sometimes when you're sitting there thinking, you're not sure. But once you hear yourself say a message, you go, there's something there. It even happens to me. When I listen back to an episode that I've done with you guys, I go, there's something there. I need to do another episode about that. I completely didn't hear myself in the moment. I didn't think about it. So a great strategy would be record yourself. It might not be good at first, right? Maybe you're working out your ideas, but long term, it's also going to help you if you force yourself to speak your message. It's going to make it very clear, like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm about. What am I about? I'm about this. I'm about this. I really think we're missing something here. And then you're going to record again, write it down, and you're going to start clearing up your message to where eventually you're going to be able to sit there and go, I decided to make a personal training podcast for personal trainers that were just starting off. I remember where I was when I started. And when I started, I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to market. I was scared. I wanted to quit, right? Anybody listening knows that I always tell you guys that, right? When I started, I wanted to quit. I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't quit. And all the lessons I'm sharing with you guys are the lessons that helped me get to this point, right? I've cleared out my message. That's always my message, right? So as a trainer or as anybody in any business, you want to start developing that. And I've said it so many times that now I can say it off the top of my head. In the beginning, I was like, how do I say this? But it comes from the heart. It's the truth.
Yeah.
So the video is going to give you the copy that goes below. Now you're going to sell them on you, but write it down because not everybody likes to watch a video. So they're going to read. So pretty much whatever they're reading is what they could have heard. So now you get 2 for 1.
Okay.
Right. So maybe somebody's at work looking at your website. They might not be able to play the video, but at least the main points from the video are written down. What else do people want to know about you? What are your hours? When can I train? Because this happens to me a lot, right? People are like, oh, I want to train at 7 a.m., but I don't know if you train at 7 a.m. Does anybody train at 7? And it's like, oh, they weren't even going to call because they thought 7 a.m. was too early, or they thought I wasn't available on Saturdays. So clearing that up and letting people know I'm available Monday through Wednesday from this time or whatever, that's another question people are going to ask. That's why I always say you want a website that is practical because that's not beautiful. That's just understanding what the person needs to see. And sometimes we lose people because they're going to go and they're going to go, oh, I don't know. I want to train Saturday mornings. I don't think they're free Saturday morning. And they just scroll. Their attention goes by so fast. So you want to have the times that you train. And then they're going to ask, how much is it? If I wanted to train with this person, how much is it? So you should have some rates on there. You can
Mhm.
have a range. If you don't want to commit to something, you can say, hey, it's between 50 and 60, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever.
Yeah.
And as long as you have something more detailed once you train with them, where it says, oh, the 50 means you train for 20, but the 60 means you train for 10, right? Like you can clear it up for them once you meet with them if you want to do it that way.
Mm.
What
Mm.
we've opted for more recently is to just put 10 sessions of this, 40 sessions of this, 50 sessions. We just cleared it up. I don't know, because when you're starting off, it's a fear and it's a little bit difficult. And you also want people to give you a chance so that they can see the value of it.
Right.
So in the beginning, sometimes putting a range is good as long as they know that like this is the least, this is the most, and you got to talk to me to figure out what that means. And then once
Mhm.
you train them, you can go, yeah, it's as low as 50, but you have to train for a year. But I
Mm.
wasn't lying, you just didn't know the details. So
Yeah,
uh,
I'm okay with the package price because if somebody's going to buy, they're going to buy. And most buyers want to be informed. Okay, because they're counting up their
true.
budget or whatever, a 12
Mhm.
sessions package is $400 or whatever,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to make it that plain because either you're going
That's
to jump
great.
on it or you're not.
No, I
You know?
think that's good. I mean, it took me a little while to feel more and more comfortable, but the more I read, the more I watched, the more I landed exactly what you're saying. It's
Mhm.
just better to be transparent because sometimes the most frustrating thing, and this is why it's important, you have a good point. Like if they like it or they don't like it, it's better to know now.
Yeah.
But a lot of us, this is a good message to share with the other trainers listening. Sometimes we don't realize that the reason why people aren't calling us is because they're thinking that maybe you charge $200 a session. And
Mm.
if it was on there, they would realize it is within their budget, but they're not calling you because they don't know, right? They may be assuming that it's more than what it is. If you flip your thought, because most people think if I put them on there, they're not going to call me because it's too much for them. Actually, no, they might imagine that it's more if they don't see it, right? Sometimes that happens to me. I go to a website, I'm like, how much is it to come box at this place, right? I do boxing, I do Muay Thai.
Mhm.
I signed up for my Muay Thai gym literally because they had a schedule and their prices. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's perfect. The
You can
schedule
make
works,
it.
the price works. So when you're right, when I went, there were other gyms that were closer to me, but when I would go to the website, sometimes I couldn't find the schedule, or sometimes they were like, call for rates. I was like, I'm not gonna call you to ask you for rates because then what's gonna happen if what am I gonna go? Okay, thanks. Like it's a little too much for me. Let me hang up. I don't want to go through that. So having the rates is super important, but just going back, right? Video, copy, hours, rates, and then this is the final thing.
Hmm.
You want to have like a consultation or assessment for them. You want that to be the thing. And I'll kind of just let this be like my final point for today. Um, if everyone made it this far with us, they'll get this last treat. Something to learn about sales almost in any business, but specifically personal training. Everything that you do is to sell the assessment, not your training sessions. So sometimes what happens is we're going too far ahead. It's a lot easier if you try to sell the first thing that you want them to do. So like if you were talking to me, what would you want me to do? Would you want me to commit to 48 sessions or would you want me to just give you a shot?
I'd want you to give me a shot.
Right? That like obviously we want the purchase, but if we're being real, when you're talking to somebody, when you're giving out a flyer, when you're asking somebody to come train with you, what you're doing is you're asking them for an opportunity to show them the value that you can bring to them. So I would say everyone listening, remember that because a lot of us make the mistake and we feel it too. Like whenever we go to buy a car or when we go to buy something where there's like a salesperson involved, a lot of the times they're like jumping ahead. They're rushing to the end and it's frustrating,
Turn
right?
off.
It's a bit of a turn off. So as a trainer, if you can train yourself to go, the website, my flyers, my speech, my everything is just to hear you out and to show you how I can help you. Then you're getting more people to step one, which then is going to get them to step two more often instead of trying to get them to like, okay, purchase a 10 pack on my website. They've never met you. They don't know how you train. They don't know if they can go to you. They don't know if you train too hard, if you train too easy,
Mhm.
if you're a timely person, maybe you're never even going to be on time. They have a lot of questions right now. It's
Mhm.
very hard for them to just jump and make a commitment when they
Mhm.
haven't met you.
Mhm.
Once they've met you, you were on time, the training was great, you asked them the right questions, you made the right adjustments, they can see themselves getting results, you talked about what they now they feel all that value. Now they gave you a shot. Now you show them the rates and you close the deal. So just something to think about. So if you, again, when you look at the website, our only call to action is to sign up a consultation. That's all I'm trying to do with the website. I just want you to show up. Just give me a shot. That's all I'm asking. And a lot of
Mhm.
people do. I just had somebody at like 10 p.m. last night sent in a consultation request. Um, well, that's actually
Mhm.
something I wanted to say that is very true. You said like the website, you never know, somebody might just in the middle of the night. That
Mhm.
happens to us all the time. Sometimes at midnight, I wake up in the morning, I look at my phone, 6, 7 in the morning, and I go, somebody's requested a consultation at midnight.
Mm.
It's like, oh, interesting. And then I think, and I always tell this to the trainers, knowing that information, that is a very hot lead because what was going on in their mind in that moment,
Exactly.
right? They were feeling something. So we try to get back to them quick, come on in because they are feeling something. We try to like be mindful and respectful of that. Somebody
Yeah.
that messages you in the middle of the night is because they felt something, they had some type of epiphany, they watched something on TV, something happened. So
Mhm.
you want to have the consultation set up all the time. That's all I wanted to say. And just know that that's what you're leading. If you know what you're selling with your website, it'll change the way that you structure it. If you know, I just want you to give me a shot. When you go in there and write stuff and do the video and put stuff in order, you're going to go, I'm assuming that they're buying it. Let me change that text because they're
Okay.
not buying it yet. Now I need to just assume that they're going to set up a consultation, not make the purchase, right? It'll change
Mm.
the way you look at things.
Okay. No, I like that. I'm actually looking at my tab now. I have a contact me tab, but I need to have something that says maybe consultation because I did look at your website.
Yeah.
And you do
So
have what that you could push. Hmm.
the big yellow button.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the color is something that I added this year because I read somewhere because I'm always learning too, right? And it was something like you need to draw people's eyes to what you want. And I was like, well, I don't want to make it red, even though most people say make the buttons red because so I'm breaking the rules. Maybe I'm wrong for that, but there's just something about like the big red button that I just feel like everyone knows what the big red button is. It's like buying it. So I was like, let me go with orange. I mean, with yellow, maybe that'll help. And so far it's been fine. But when you're scrolling, you see it.
Yeah. It,
And I have a book a free consultation button on every page. So if you go halfway down the page, there's the consultation button. If you happen to scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, I have another consultation thing at the very bottom. And then when they click to a different option, so when they click to prices,
Mhm.
it takes them to the pricing page. I have a description on our pricing. We don't have memberships, we have packages. These are this packages, these are this. And then at the very bottom, the button is there again, book a consultation. Because I never know at what point through their viewing experience, they're going to go, okay. All right. So maybe when they look at the prices, they're going to go, oh, you know what? I can do this. I don't want them to have to go back to the homepage to book
Yeah.
the consultation. So at the end of every page, I treat every page, now we're getting more advanced, but I treat every page as a presentation. So
Mhm.
every page on my website is a presentation to get them to go book at the bottom of the page, right? Instead of having them jump back and forth, you never know when the moment will strike where they're like gonna go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's helpful. And that's an easy fix right
Yeah.
there. Kind of
Check
give them.
this out, and you're welcome to email me after this. I would love for you to in your contact me form, mess around with it on the editing. Do you do it through like a Wix or a Squarespace?
It's uh Pro Sites. It's a free option for if you finish ISSA.
Oh, cool. Okay.
They give you like a discount, so it'd be like a
Perfect.
Wix for you.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So mess around with it. Maybe one of the other trainers or maybe a YouTube channel exists, or maybe you just figure it out on your own. see if there's an option on your contact form to add a calendar to it.
Ooh, yes.
Because that's how we have ours set up. So that same contact form that most people have at the bottom of the page. Damn, I'm giving you guys my secrets here. Dang.
Yes. Talk more, Sam. Talk more.
At the bottom of the consultation page, on my consultation page, I made sure to change that form because I'm pretty sure yours will have the option to. I hope it does. If not, you'll figure out how to make this happen. Maybe just an option where they can click or maybe they can type it in. But instead of asking somebody to contact you, what's going to be better is to have them contact you to set up a consultation and then have a day and time for them to click. So now they're committing to a time. And I feel like it has worked more for me. It's definitely worked more than just contact. For the contact, I'll just add like an email. I'll say contact me, and then I'll add the email, the phone number at the bottom,
Yeah.
just in case somebody has a different question. Maybe they don't want to set up a consultation, but they're just curious about your rates or about where you work. Or sometimes people want to message you directly, like, hey, I just had a back surgery. I just want to know if you work with anybody after a back surgery. So they might have a different question. So you still want to have the contact me because
Yeah.
people just have random questions sometimes. But also making sure that your consultation form has a commitment. Want to
Mhm.
set up, it could just say at the very bottom, right? You give them all your info and it can say, want to have a consultation with me or a free consultation if you want to make it free, right? Want to
Yeah.
book a free consultation with me?
Yeah.
Book your consultation here. Put your name in, pick the date, pick the time, and I'll get back to you. Maybe make sure they have their phone number. We ask for their email and their phone number just in case there's a typo. We can reach out through the phone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now when you get this consultation request, it's going to have a day and a time. So they've made a commitment. So all you have to do is call them back or email them back. Say, hey, I saw that you booked a consultation with me Friday at 9 a.m. I look forward to seeing you. Do you have any questions before we meet? Da 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 da. Okay, great. Yeah, that's what I'm about. I can help you with that. I'll meet you at this park at this time. Boom, confirmation. We're moving forward.
That is so simple and smooth. And what I'm walking away with is I do this in my other business. I consult before I take on a client. This is exactly what why reinvent the wheel? Just do it. What you do over here, do it
Just
over
do it
here.
that for, but just, yeah, with fitness. Uh,
Gosh.
but it'll
Yeah.
be good. I hope that the park combo that we had will really be helpful. And I would say you're going to have to commit to a rate for sure, a location, an address, and a rate. So what I would say is I think those two things, it sounds like will move you forward right now. If you find a park and you say, hey, I'm just going to use this park as my address for now, you can always go back and change it should you move to a different park. Use the park as an address, commit to certain rates, whatever those rates are. I've talked about this before, but just make sure your rates are something that you can look someone in the eye and truly believe that it's worth it. Truly though, this is a very personal thing because a lot of people say that, but they don't really believe it. Like deep, deep in their core, they don't believe it. I always remember this. When I worked at Bally Total Fitness, there was this trainer and he wasn't very good and he didn't have any clients, but he had a thing in his car that said, know what you're worth or earn your worth or something like that. And I was like, isn't that ironic? I'm like, I love the message, but he has no clients. So well, I don't know what you're
How's that
earning.
work for you?
Right. So you know this, you guys know this. I'm like, whatever you think you feel comfortable in, go maybe even a little bit less than that. And because you don't have to commit to it. This is what everybody always feels like they've made a commitment. Let's say, let's take an extreme example, right? We're going to go $30 for a session.
Mhm.
Okay, let's say that you really feel like that's undervaluing yourself. In a way, that kind of works out because you can look someone in the eye and be like, I damn know that I should be charging you double this, right?
Mhm.
So it'll change your attitude about it because now you're coming at it from like dude, people pay me twice, three times this much. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
giving you a deal.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
It'll change your demeanor. Now, I'm not saying you guys should go that low. Like I said, that's an extreme example, but it'll change your demeanor. But this is what it will do. If that person goes, oh, 30, let me get 20 sessions. You're going to go, well, fuck. All right. I got one. I got
Mhm.
one. Okay. I'm going to do
Mhm.
that again, but this time with 40.
Yes.
Right. So now you only have one with 30, unfortunately. But I treat some of these lessons like education, right? I tell people, I'm like, you spent thousands and thousands of dollars to go to school,
Mhm.
but you're not willing to give up $10 for a session.
Mhm.
What you will learn from that
Mhm.
$30 client is, and maybe your number will be 50 as a low ball. That's fine, right? I'm low balling it at 50. Let's bring it up. I know
Mhm.
I'm worth 100. I'm giving it to you for 50.
Mhm.
The education that you get for those 50 that you're giving up for your session will be worth what you make up on your third, fourth, fifth, 10th. At this point, for me, hundreds of clients that I've signed up in my career, hundreds, if not maybe
Mhm.
thousands, because I've been doing it for over a decade. I don't even remember when I started. My first client was at Bally Total Fitness, and I used to charge them $39 for an hour. My manager got mad at me because I kept selling the low package. She's like, you can't, because there was like a discount code in the system, and I
Oh,
found it
okay.
out. And so
Mhm.
I was like, well, I don't want to charge the bigger rate. So I would just sign people up on this discount. He got mad at me. But this far in my career, I don't even think about that. It was just what I needed to get the ball rolling. I just needed to be in the game. So I would say commit to any number as long as it's reasonable
Okay.
and just get one. And then the moment you get one, go back in there and change it because you don't want two at that rate.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
um, but just an idea. You don't have to, but I just think it's such when you're starting off, you just need that win.
Yeah.
That's why I
One
give
That one opportunity. It's like,
that's
oh,
all you need.
now I know I can go here.
That's it. Because then you'll know my website worked, my Instagram worked, my flyers worked, my park idea worked. You get so much validation when somebody pays you something that you're not getting when you're getting that zero, right? So I always say 30, 50, whatever that number is for you. The validation that you'll get as a coach,
Yeah.
being out there, having someone on your schedule, driving to the park with the equipment, setting up your table, the excitement that that's going to build
Yeah.
keeps you in the game just a little bit longer. And who
Yeah.
knows, this one that you're training for 50 at the park right now, when you
Mhm.
set up that table with your flyers, the person that takes the flyer doesn't know. So when they go to the website, they're going to go, "Oh, okay, so this person at the park's paying 70, must be worth
Uh-huh.
it."
Uh-huh.
And now
Ah.
they'll go for 70, and like you just keep filtering one just like you did right now. You have somebody that you have on a low rate, they're a friend. But if you train that person where people can see it, that friend is going to get you another client. And now when you have two, they're going to get you the third if you are somewhere where people can see it. So I think the park will be
Yeah.
a good idea.
Okay. I am so relieved. And Sam, I live 6 minutes away. I bike to the park just for exercise. I live so close to a park. It's
Perfect.
like, why not do it? I just needed somebody to tell me, yes, do it.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, I have friends that have been trainers for a decade or more, and that's what they do. That's their business model. They train at the park. Sometimes they do it so much that like they'll even put stickers on their cars if they really want to legitimize it. I mean, the business can still grow even if you don't have a location. And also if that vision hasn't come to you, then you shouldn't force it. That's what I was talking to Megan. You'll hear the episode before, but I was telling her sometimes the difference in like sizes of businesses or where we go, it's just the vision that you have for it. Like if you want to be a trainer, you don't have to hire people. You don't have to do all these things. We put this pressure on ourselves to say it has to be this thing eventually. I have to have them. If the vision isn't there for something, then this is the vision, which it is. You should respect your vision. My vision right now is to be a personal trainer part-time and grow it to $2,000 to $4,000 a month on a side business. That's your
Yeah.
vision. Stick to that vision. What you didn't tell me when I asked you what your goal was, you didn't say, "Oh, I want to have 5 clients at my local gym." That's not what came out of your mouth, right? So clearly that's not the goal. The goal is to get enough clients to make this money. How you go about it is flexible,
Okay.
unless you had that in your mind already. If you told me I want to make $4,000 a month on a boot camp on the weekends, well, then we would have had a whole nother conversation because now that's the vision. But your vision started as I want my side hustle to be big enough to make this much money. That's it. So it didn't define where or how much you charge or how many clients. You're fixated on a number. So just, I don't know, you can have 4 clients that pay you $1,000 a month. You can have 8 clients that pay you $500 a month. It's however you do the math.
Yeah, yeah. This is helpful. I think I just needed someone to help me, all the things floating around in my head. And I use this analogy a lot. I have all the ingredients to make a cake. I mean, I'm talking about, I don't even eat cake, but a luscious cake, right? And it's just how to put it together so it can come out nice and moist and fluffy. I have all the ingredients. I know what I'm working with because I did my confidence work. I did my scarcity mindset work prior to, right, the charging. I did that work. Had to do it with my other business. So I know what I'm working with. I know what I'm bringing to the table, as they
Yeah.
say. It's just, yeah, how do you how do you execute it and make
Yeah.
it come together and do too much or go in the wrong direction? And I think you've helped me with that
I
for
love
this
it.
stage.
For this stage, yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I guess we've gone over time a little bit, but that's all right. I was having fun. I hope you had fun too. Opanike. I appreciate
Perfect.
you coming in on the podcast. Thank you for listening to the podcast, sending in your question. I appreciated it. Do you remember what your question was? We didn't even go over what your question was.
I was terrified around the nutrition conversation
Oh, that's
because I'm
right.
not certified in nutrition. And yeah, so that was helpful. And I'm like, yep, okay.
I might do
That's
another
good too.
one. I was like, I don't know if I misinterpreted that, but I'm going to do another one around that same subject to like talk more on like the how to actually do it. So look for that. It'll come up. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Say goodbye to the listeners that we've got listening.
Absolutely. Sam is just such a jewel. Thank you so much for providing this opportunity and for all the other newbies out there and people who are afraid. I'm afraid at times, but we're doing this together and we have someone like Sam to lead us and guide us. I'm so thankful.
All right. Well, I'm grateful for you as well. I appreciate you taking the time today. All right, you guys, send in your questions. If anybody has a question, send in your question. I will turn it into an episode, and who knows, maybe we'll get to chat just like we did today. All right, everyone. Goodbye.